So let's start with the border.
Okay.
I know that you're very intimately knowledge.
Right.
You have intimate knowledge of that, of the border situation. Do you think that strides were made in the previous administration, and are those improvements being maintained today?
They are not being maintained. So yes, there was an effort to build the wall. Portions of it were completed, new portions of wall were done. Not a significant portion, unfortunately, especially the portion here in southwestern Arizona. As you mentioned, I do have some experience with this. Serving in the Guard for the last 20 years and 14 years in the active component before that. In my tenure in the Guard, we've deployed guardsmen to surge badges to the border under Bush, Obama, and then under President Trump. Currently, President Biden has not authorized federal expenditure for that. I've been on the record with major media outlets saying that's a dereliction of his duty. President Biden is derelict in his duty. It is a federal responsibility, border enforcement. So Customs and Border Protection, that's a federal requirement. In terms of the construction, absolutely we need to build the wall. We need to build the wall first and foremost as it pertains to the immigration piece. I tell them like this. If you go home and you blow a high pressure water line under your sink, you do not scream for more mops. You first stop the leak. So what we need to do is first build the wall. That will create more secure Arizona communities. Human security is border security. It's much more than national security. In southern Arizona, the number of people that are crossing from countries other than Mexico is going up quickly. The cartels are trafficking people and drugs across that border. Potential terrorist organizations can cross in these areas, and the lawlessness just creates bigger problems. We have to stop that. Your question about what happens going forward, the federal government has routinely said that they will, in exchange for surging our guardsmen to help badges to the border, we'll hire more enforcement agents so that we can pull the military out of that mission. That needs to happen. And we need to make sure that we build the wall, but also have an enforcement element that's properly built out to enforce all of that new border structure. Because if you build a physical barrier, I can tell you this as a military guy, and you don't patrol it or have someone to enforce it, it is a waste of money at that point. So we have to have both. And so President Trump was pushing towards that. President Biden has suspended all of that activity. President Trump was right about building the wall.
And one of the things I want to go back to what you said, and just for just a moment, is why is it so important for us not to have open borders? Because I hear a lot of people saying, oh, we don't need borders at all. And I mean, I always wonder how we can be a sovereign nation without borders.
Right.
But it's my understanding that they are doing more than just entering our country illegally. They're bringing bad things to our country.
Right. I say it this way: no border, no country. It's just that simple. Territorial sovereignty and the way mankind has always operated is based on territorial sovereignty. And what we're talking about here is a border with Mexico, our biggest trading partner, our best friend here in southwestern Arizona. We need a strong and robust commerce, trade, and travel back and forth with Mexico. But if we do not have a border and the lawlessness increases, communities on both sides of the border, in Arizona and in Sonora, Mexico, are less safe. Without a border, we have less safe communities. So we need to be firm on the idea that open borders will not keep us safer, will not create security in our communities, either in Mexico or here in the United States and Arizona.
A lot of people have been talking lately about human trafficking, and I've heard other people say, oh, it doesn't really exist. What's your thought on that?
I know for certain that in the surge, in the infamous Cages incident in 2014, I was the adjutant general as family units were being dropped off at the Phoenix Greyhound station. The reason those chain link structures were built in Nogales was to be a medical screening point for children underage without guardians to screen for measles, mumps, rubella. There was such an influx that we had to take those children and the Obama administration decided to move them to Fort Sill, Lackland, and Point Mugu. At the time, I was a state emergency manager. I held that role as well as the commanding general of the Guard. And I asked a simple question: when these children are released, who picks them up? What do you mean? I said, well, you say we can't challenge their ask for any documentation or any of those types of things. Are you not worried that a lot of these children will wind up being sex trafficked or used in illicit activity once we take them off to these military bases? Health and Human Services said basically no trick questions. In terms of human trafficking, we know for certain during that surge and during these most recent surges, all since 2014, the cartels have decided that if I get more money to move people than drugs, I'll move people. Use the same supply lines, just a different product you're moving. So absolutely, people are trafficking in humans. And I can tell you that in the Yuma sector here in Arizona, right before I retired, they were seeing a huge uptick in people claiming asylum. But the biggest change from the last surges is in some days of their apprehensions, over half the people they apprehended were from other than Mexico or the Golden Triangle, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras, countries that were typically areas we had seen surges from in the past, but they were from Asia, Europe, and Africa, and South America. And you and I both know you don't walk to Yuma from those countries. So someone is moving them across the ocean into Mexico and then across our southwest border.
Okay, what about some of the more, we'll call them domestic issues?
Okay.
The budget, or lack thereof, from the federal government right now.
Well, the federal budget this year, I don't even know. They've printed so much money since the year of COVID, and then the $1.9 billion stimulus. That's just a lot of money. And we're carrying a lot of debt. This is the best analogy I can give you for the money. I remember when President Trump was elected, they talked about a $2.3 trillion infrastructure spending plan. He was laughed at.
Yeah.
In the last year, we could have done a $2.3 trillion stimulus plan twice, given every American that was displaced from their job as a result of COVID a pretty good job to build out that infrastructure he asked for, and paid for it 2 times over. But instead, we spent all that money and we got nothing to show for it.
And so what about abortion? What's your stand on abortion?
I'm firm on the right to life, and that I believe Roe v. Wade was a wrongly determined decision, and I stand by that. And I think in the name of incrementalism, we start with things like a 20-week abortion ban. I would never vilify a young lady that has to make that tragic choice, but I think we need to give all the alternate outlets for them, and we start by making it more, not less difficult for them to have to trespass that area in their life.
Okay. What about the animosity that we're seeing in our country and also amongst our government, where it used to be you and I could maybe disagree agreeably. Now there isn't any agreeably about it.
Yeah, it's terrible. We are the United States of America. United is the operative word. We need to be reunited. We cannot continue to go in opposite directions and pull that hard at the thread of the republic. It can only take so much pressure. And what do? We got to go back to the fact that we all believe in the United States Constitution as the governing law of the land. I took an oath to protect and defend it for the last 34 years, and am considering taking that oath again in a different title, and will demand. And there's going to be times that, those on either side will be upset with me about the idea that the Constitution is clear in its language here. But both sides have used it as a bludgeon to beat the other side up at times. We got to stop doing that.
So it comes down to the Constitution.
It comes down to the Constitution.
Okay, what would you like to add?
What would I like to add?
Yeah, what do we not cover that you would like to?
I think that I'll go back to the uniting thing. It is appalling to me that the Department of Defense would do extremism training for every one of their soldiers, airmen, sailors, Marine, Coast Guardsmen, and members of the Space Force, when every one of those 1.7 million people took an oath of office or an oath of enlistment freely, and their loyalty is pledged to the Constitution. The word extremism, in my mind, has only been conflated with two terms: religious and political extremism. And I think when we start throwing extremism into the ranks and saying this is a problem, we naturally will divide our military. I don't believe that we can have a more diverse, uniformed service. We can have a uniformed service. Those are oxymoronic terms, diverse and uniform. That we protect them all the same. We don't care your religion, your skin color, your country of origin, your preference. We don't care about any of that. We just care that you're the best. You can serve in formation and be the best of the best. And somehow, when we start going, well, what about this guy or that guy, and questioning their loyalty, this is going to make it very, very challenging to sustain a republic.
So if you decide to run, and you win election, what's the first thing you attack when you get to Congress?
I think we need to make the federal government responsible for their duties. If we know that border enforcement and national sovereignty and national security is a federal issue, not a state of Arizona issue, I'm going to make sure that you as an Arizona taxpayer are not encumbered unburdensomely for a responsibility that the federal government should have. So that means we secure our border and we hire the proper enforcement agents to enforce that new border that we built.
What will be your approach to the military?
To the military, my approach to the military is right in line with peace through strength. Reagan was the first of that said that. But peace through strength doesn't mean being wasteful. It means understanding that we raise the Army and maintain the Navy in accordance with Article 1, Section 8. And we raise that Army only when we need it, and when we don't need it, we stand it back down so that we don't keep the meter running unnecessarily for the people. The federal government has a constitutional requirement to organize, arm, and provide the training discipline upon which the National Guard of the several states is raised from. So, yes, we do need to buy equipment. Yes, we do need to modernize. Yes, we need new systems. But do we need all of these people in formation all the time, 24 hours a day? That's where I think I differ with your typical defense hawk.
Okay, what would you want to say to the people of Prescott right now?
To the people of Prescott, I would say to them, I'm exploring representing you, and I can't be prouder of the way this great county represents the patriotic capital of this great state and nation. Thanks for all that you guys do.
Okay, thanks.
You bet.